fastest show in sports.
And with that, the Kansas City Chiefs dynasty is done. Now, I know Kansas City fans are going to be all upset at saying that because they're going to say, wait a minute, it's only one season and we can come back and things can happen again. And the Chiefs certainly are going to be good again. That's no doubt about that. But wait, what you're doing is you're not looking at where we are right now. The torn ACL injury by Patrick Mahomes, in effect, signals a turning point in his career. I mean, every player has got it. Sooner or later, the big injury hits. This is the big injury for Patrick Mahomes because there's no doubt it's going to change how he plays as a quarterback. I mean, the season is done. Everybody knows that. The Chiefs are automatically eliminated from any Super Bowl chase here. But for Mahomes, we now look forward. Patrick Mahomes is going to come back next season. At least we think he is. I mean, there's no reason to think that Mahomes isn't going to come back and do it again. I mean, the guy is young. He's still got tremendous talent, a tremendous arm. He's in an organization right now that is one of the 2 or 3 best in the National Football League. And he's going to want to come back and tell everybody that he can make it and he can do it again. But what happens to the supporting cast around him is what the really important issues are right now. Mahomes is coming back. But I got to tell you something. This is the end, as far as I'm concerned, for Travis Kelce. This is the perfect time for Kelce to walk away. Will he? Why not? He's done everything. He's won Super Bowls. He is engaged to the richest, wealthiest entertainer in the world right now. He's got his life in front of him. He's having fun with his brother on podcasts. I mean, for Kelce, he's done absolutely everything. If you look at tight ends in the National Football League, you have to put Kelce first, second, maybe. I mean, with him and Gronkowski, it's a 1-2 count no matter what you do. But for Kelce, it's out. And not only that, but the Kansas City Chiefs were doing everything they could this season to ride one more time with this crew. They really missed a couple of key points and a couple of things that they could have done and a couple of small changes that they could have made, which would have made them even more competitive. I mean, is anybody going to look themselves in the eye, even a real, solid, dyed-in-the-wool Kansas City Chiefs fan, and say that this season was awful? By Chiefs standards, this was a terrible season. I mean, the Chiefs were exposed on offense and on defense more times than you can count, but that's what happens. Here's the terrible thing about it. They got old. And by National Football League standards, it doesn't take long to get old. 2, 3, maybe 4 seasons. And the Chiefs were not able to build up and get ready and take that second and third tier of talent and be there to plug in and be ready for something like this. I mean, really? At backup quarterback? There's nothing there at this point. It's a shame. And for the rest of the season, it's going to be a struggle. But Kansas City Chiefs fans need to come to the realization that your dynasty is over. I mean, it's okay. Look, all dynasties end one way or another. And this is going to be the end. Now, people will then come back and say, and the argument will be, well, wait a minute. If the Chiefs come back and win in 2026, and they win the Super Bowl again, would you not consider them to be a dynasty? Yeah, but right now, the way it sits, we're going to say that the dynasty is over. They're going to have to prove it again. And as far as Mahomes is considered, now, once again, crashes up that great argument about the greatest of all time. Patrick Mahomes is not the greatest quarterback of all time in the National Football League. He's not. But there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's not like you've got to be number one across the board here. He's got the rings to show for it. There is no doubt, no question whatsoever. You cannot argue this with me. Do it as you will. Go ahead, scream, holler, jump up and down. And I know you hate him, because a lot of people do. But Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time in the National Football League. Stop, end the argument. Now it comes down to number 2. Because people are going to say, all right, well, Ed, you just went ahead and crushed our hopes with Patrick Mahomes. What about number 2? No, he's not. Joe Montana is number 2. And this is the issue. When we get down to talking about greatest quarterbacks of all time, people have not seen Joe Montana. There's a whole generation out here who never saw him play, who has to look back at grainy video footage, film footage, to see exactly who he was. Joe Montana was 4-0 in Super Bowls. Stop. I mean, he gets to the big game and he wins it. And when it comes to field management and what he had around him, nobody had it like he did. So the argument now begins. Will Patrick Mahomes come back for 2026? Yes. Is Patrick Mahomes maybe one day going to be the greatest quarterback of all time in the NFL? Maybe, but I doubt it. Because he's got to jump over Montana and he's got to jump over Brady. And that's not going to happen. And will Travis Kelce, this is the big question, will Kelce be back in 2026? I say no. I think Kelce's going to hang him up. He's got everything in front of him. He doesn't want to get beat up again anymore. And why not? He's done everything there is. So Kelce's out. Mahomes comes in. The Chiefs got to prove it all over again. Sorry, Chiefs fans. But every now and then, the dynasty has got to end. Moving on. More in the National Football League. Well, sort of, if you will, if we look ahead to the National Football League. DJ Lagway has decided to leave the Florida Gators after 2 seasons. This is telling for a couple of reasons if you're a Gators fan. First of all, you would expect that after the Billy Napier experiment was over, and you bring in a really good coach, or technically a good coach, in John Summerall, that the players are going to go ahead and give it a shot because they're getting all the right vibes right now. This makes complete sense for Lagway, because now he's dealing with a new quarterback, a new system, new assistant coaches. He's going to have to do that anyway as he enters the transfer portal, but it is his opinion that the Gators are not going to be that good for a couple of seasons. They're going to rebuild. They're going to bring in new players. They're going to have favorite players. And he's right. The Gators are going to look at doing things a little bit differently under Summerall. And let's not forget, Lagway was a Napier guy. So now he's going to go ahead, enter the transfer portal, and he is going to be the single most sought-after player in the portal in the offseason. The guy's got a great ceiling. I mean, he's only played 2 seasons for the Gators, and he hasn't really even touched the surface of who and what he can be. And if you look at the way that Napier almost ruined him and definitely ruined the Gators in the last season, makes sense for him. The question is where he goes, and I'm going to be honest, I have no idea, because you're going to go ahead and find the top schools, and that's where Lagway is going to wind up going. But it says something greater about the Florida Gators program. And I've said this before. The Gators have dillied and dallied for years with their head coaches. They've added some terrible coaches, they've added some fair coaches, but in the end, where once there was this great luster about Florida Gators football, it doesn't exist anymore. I mean, the Gators used to be one of the top 10 programs in the country. Not anymore. They're in the top 20, to be sure, but does anybody really fear the Florida Gators anymore? The answer is no. There's no reason to. The Gators have put themselves in a position right now where they have to rebuild. Rebuilding in college football is... Oh, I'm going to get hammered for this one. It's easy compared to the National Football League and other leagues, because you have the transfer portal. You have the ways to go out and get players now. You can go out and sign players. You have an entire country sitting in front of you, and you have nobody who's basically running the show. The inmates are running the asylum here, so anybody can sign just about anywhere for just about any amount of money. So you can rebuild. The Gators need to do it quickly, or else they are going to get buried in the SEC. They're already, and this is tough to say, but the Gators are not looked at as a contender right now in football. They're not. But it's okay. Gators fans, you don't need to be upset. You don't need to scream. You shouldn't be throwing things at the screen right now. And you shouldn't be going, I'm going to get Berliner now. Look at this. He's gone ahead and taken down the Gators. What are you going to do? Call my best buddies at Notre Dame, the fan base there, and tie in with them and come on after me? Don't do that. You don't have to. The Gators are not that arrogance of Notre Dame. Yeah, they're arrogant. So is everybody else when you come from a program that has been so powerful for so long. But the Gators have got to rebuild, and they've got to do it quickly. But then again, you can do that quickly in college football. As far as Lagway is concerned, this is a guy who's not going to play. He's got 2 years of eligibility remaining, and he's not going to go someplace to play for 2 years. Nope. Whoever gets him is looking at him as a one-year rental, because Lagway's going to come and he's going to pick the best spot possible for him, and then he's going to go right to the National Football League, and the NFL will gladly take him. I mean, to be honest, I think the jury is still out on how well Lagway is going to do as an NFL quarterback, but then again, you can say that about just about every single college football quarterback. But he's got to move on. The Gators are going to move on. And where the Gators go now with Summerall is going to tell a lot about where they go in the next couple of years, because they're middle of the pack in the SEC. I know. Just my saying that makes me know that right now there's Gator fans everywhere that are going to hate me, but it's true. You can't argue with that fact. This is a program that needs to rebuild. And by rebuilding, you're going to maybe start from scratch. And other teams are going to take advantage of you. But the Gators can once again rise to be one of the best teams in the SEC. They're going to do it without Lagway, and they're going to have to do it smartly. The question is, with a lot of the bad decisions the Gators have made in the last 4, 5, 6 years, do they have the smarts at the top of that management structure to now be one of the best teams in the SEC again? Moving on. Oh, let's do it. Let's go to college football. What a shock. We've only been there for a while. Let's stay right where we're at. The story of Diego Pavia is to me, it's one of the most entertaining stories, and it's very telling about where we're at right now in college athletics, but certainly in America today. Pavia did a great job at Vanderbilt, without question. He deserved to be in the mix for the Heisman Trophy, without question. He lost the Heisman. I'll touch on the Heisman in a moment here. And then he goes ballistic with all his buddies. First of all, he shows up for the affair looking something like the Vincent Corleone method here, bringing in all his gang and all his buddies in his posse, trying to look tough. And he didn't manage that, because after losing the Heisman, he goes on a tear. Insults the Heisman voters, insults the Heisman Trophy, incites college football. I mean, he goes after everybody. It's scorched earth for Pavia. What did you expect? I mean, really, wait a minute now. We're all going to say we expect him to be a classy guy. Why? He's a young guy. He's of the social media era. He takes advantage of it. And whether he figured or not this was going to be good for his career, and it won't, because the National Football League remembers they got a long memory. And this is the kind of guy that you don't want on your team. See, already you've got what I call the Shedeur Sanders effect. Shedeur Sanders opened his mouth over and over again while he was at Colorado. The National Football League paid attention. And the NFL didn't necessarily want him involved. A lot of teams said, this is a cancer. I don't want him on my team. Do you think now that Pavia is going to come off the board with some NFL teams? Without question. But then he comes out and issues this wonderful public relations apology. It was all made up for him. I'm sorry. He says, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to insult people. But then he comes in and basically looks for a little sympathy for his plight. Will you stop, kid? You're a loser. You lost it. It was funny on Sunday where I heard Willie Geist of NBC, who was doing a show, and he was talking about the Heisman. And he's a Vanderbilt guy. And when he talked about Pavia before all this happened, he said, and there's a guy they need to build a statue of in Nashville. Not anymore. Willie, you might want to go back and rethink that. Because Pavia has destroyed what his value is right now to the NFL. But again, why is anybody shocked? This is what the current generation does. This is what, well, not just the current generation, but anybody who uses social media. This is what they do. They lash out. They figure, I got nothing to lose. When you do have something to lose, it's one of the oldest things in the book. When it comes to social media, shut up. I mean, really, shut the trap. Walk away. Don't be looking at signage which says F Indiana or F the Heisman or anything like that. Don't be flipping the bird at anybody. Don't be going off and being a crass moron. But he did. And I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all, because we're living now basically in what is an entitled age to begin with. And a lot of these college football players are entitled. They all believe that their shit doesn't stink, and guess what? It stinks just like everybody else's. So let's stop being so shocked at what Pavia did. We shouldn't be. We also shouldn't forgive him. No way. Look, and here's something. People are going to say, he's just a kid. No, he's not. He's an adult. He's an adult male. He knows the difference. We need to take him at his word. We need to hold him to his word. And as far as what he said, live with it. It's going to be tattooed on his forehead for the rest of his life. And I mean, there's going to come a time maybe when one day, who knows, he might be a star quarterback in the NFL someday. He might look back and say, you know, I was a real stupid kid back then. Yes, you were, and yes, you are. But I see no reason to forgive him, no reason to forget. And that's another thing, too. If you're going to go ahead and say something or do something stupid, you live with it for the rest of your life. Period. Especially now in the era of social media when everything is right out there. It's not like anything goes away. It's not like anything disappears. And for Pavia, it never should disappear. He's brought shame to himself, shame to his family, shame to Vanderbilt. I mean, come on. He had a great season. Vanderbilt is now in the national conversation. That's never happened in my lifetime, not in your lifetime. There's nobody watching this show who can ever say that they can go back and remember a time in college football when Vanderbilt was being talked about with the big guns. They've been an also-ran. They've been a doormat for so many years. Now there's something. Now they can build. Now maybe other players will look at Vanderbilt and say, hey, if Pavia can make it, so can I. It'll be a great place for me to play football. Pavia did great things for the university. And then he torched it. And then he effed it all up by opening his mouth. So let's stop with we have to feel sorry for him. No, we don't. And we don't feel sorry for him because he has to live with it for the rest of his life. And oh yeah, by the way, let's do this about the Heisman real quick. The Heisman Trophy is useless. I mean, look, the Heisman Trophy is an award for the best quarterback or maybe the best running back, maybe if you go real far, the best receiver, but it's an award for the best offensive player. The Heisman Trophy is no guarantee of success whatsoever. All you have to do is go back and look over its history. It is an overrated award. There was a time when the Heisman Trophy was huge because you didn't have all the social media. You didn't have 27,000 different awards that players could go for. This was huge. But there also was a time that the Heisman Trophy was looked at maybe, just maybe, they'll name a defensive player. Come on. It doesn't happen. This is for the best quarterback in the NFL. And they'll invite other players there, but there's never going to be an offensive lineman who's going to win the Heisman Trophy from here on out. It's going to be quarterbacks and running backs. So we need to stop putting all this onus on the Heisman Trophy and saying that it is a barometer of somebody who can be good in the NFL. That's wrong. The Heisman Trophy means that whoever wins it was an excellent player with excellent stats in college football, not in the NFL. It is no guarantee of success. All you have to do is go back and look at the history of the Heisman. Guaranteed. It's no guarantee of success. So we need to get less excited about it. And Diego, you needed to be less excited about it as well. Because if you just shut your mouth with all the work that you did at Vanderbilt, you would be high up the NFL scout boards right now and getting ready for the NFL draft next year. I mean, teams would salivate at you. But now, even if you're not a Heisman Trophy winner, you were considered there, they're going to look at you as a cancer, as a loser, as somebody who comes in and could disrupt everything, and they don't need it. They don't want it. NFL franchises don't need the headache. They don't need the nonsense. So you basically just took yourself out of being maybe a top 5 pick. I don't know if he was going to be there anyway. My buddies who do this could probably tell me better, but there's a lot of franchises, I'm telling you right now, who don't want you. Heisman or not, makes no difference. Next time you're thinking about social media, kid, do yourself a favor. Shut up. Walk away. Be smart. And oh yeah, be an adult.
Ed Berliner, the fastest show in sports.